My name is Jordan. I am a Virginia-born guy that lives in Indiana now, so I guess I'm a Hoosier or something, whatever that is. I live in Goshen, Indiana, with the best youth group in the world, Access Youth Ministry. I said because Carl would beat me up if I didn't say that. So, I am married. That's me and my wife. I'm definitely married up. I thought you guys might want to know that. We like to climb trees. I like to play spike ball. So that's what you need to know about me. I thought, what else would people want to know about me? I thought probably nothing. You guys probably are here because your youth leaders told you to be here or whatever. Thanks for coming. So I thought, what would be interesting? So I told you about something I did that I regret. You want to hear about that? No? Okay, I'll tell you anyway. So here's what happened. Right when I graduated college, my best friend in the world, my best friend asked me to be his best man. And it was a huge honor. And so I had been traveling for a month and a half after college. I had grown a pretty big beard. In college, I always cut my beard into weird shapes and did weird things with it. And so I texted him and I was like, dude, for your wedding, what do you want me to do for facial hair? Do you want me to shave? Do you want me to trim it up? What do you want me to do? And he was like, dude, Fu Manchu, only option. And so he thought I was kidding. I showed up to his wedding like that. So best man at my best friend's wedding, looking like that. Okay, I regret that. Okay, but that happened. So here we are. We're going to be talking about social media today. Things Solomon would have tweeted, or Solomon tweets. And social media is this huge, crazy double-edged sword, right? And it's this awesome thing. I have this is my extended family. Two of my sisters actually lived in Asia. One lived in China for 4 years. One lived in Cambodia on and off for 9 years. And because of social media, I got to see my nephews grow up. Even though I didn't see Jessica and her family for 2 years, I got to see my nephews grow up because of Skype. I got to see and talk to family, and that's an amazing gift. That's an amazing thing because 20 years ago it would have been way harder. It would have been way harder to do that. Social media is this awesome thing that lets us stay connected with people. I asked some students why people use social media. So here were some of their answers. It's a good way to stay in contact with people, especially coming to something like this. And when I came to Momentum, I didn't have a cell phone, I didn't have social media, so we would email each other, and that just sounds really weird now. Someone else said I also use it to encourage people and help them because they post things more openly, so you can see what they were going through, what they were really going through. So checking in on people, that's another good way. To keep up with old friends, that's a misspelling, to share experiences with people. You guys all have experiences, your friends have experiences, and you get to share that with your friends. You get to share your experience with your friends, and you get to see their experience, even if you're not there at the time. You get to share that with them. It says I can talk to people I normally wouldn't be able to talk to without social media. And so there's lots of really good aspects, lots of good things to social media. But of course, the opposite is true. Social media is a double-edged sword, and the opposite is true, that it isn't always good. And I don't want to be the guy that says do this because I said so. But I want you guys. I care about you guys. I care about people, and you guys are people, so I care about you, and I want you to live the fullest life you can. Okay, I want you to live without barriers. I want you to live full and without things. And sometimes social media can pull us back. I see people be so bold through their phone and be so timid face to face. I see people post things about some issue, and it's just they're so bold, or a group me chat, and they're so bold. And then I talk to them hey, I saw you post this. Tell me more about that. You seem really passionate about that. And they're whatever. No, that doesn't make any sense. You were being so bold. You're a different person here. What happened here? It's a totally different persona. And it isn't always bad to have a totally different persona, but in some ways it is. So I went. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm not sure if this is a good idea. what I'm about to do. I'm not sure if it's a good idea. I think it's funny. It's also a little bit mean, so we're gonna do it anyway because I'm a naturally kind of mean person. So I went on Instagram and Twitter, and I looked up a hashtag that like I make fun of all the time. Hashtag blessed, okay? And just to see like what people post with hashtag blessed. There were some hilarious things. I picked a couple of my favorites. I protected people a little bit. This guy, I don't see, I blotted out his name, can't see his face, so it's totally fine, right? He says, you guys can't read it, he says, another workout today, blah, 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 strength, hashtag game, hashtag all this stuff, hashtag blessed. Like, really? Like, you know, you're just like pointing people to yourself. This girl, this is actually probably my favorite, you guys can't see this. She says, it was a selfie. She said, brand new car on my 18th birthday. What more can I ask for? Hashtag blessed. The car isn't even in the picture. Like, it's just her. She's like, look at me, I got a new car. Like, where's the car? This one, good morning Houston, big smiles today for being blessed and able to do appearances today. Just more selfies. So, like, what I figured out in my research is that the hashtag blessed is just a chance to post selfies and like get away with it. I think that's what it is. This was another one. I think my favorite one is that all this stuff, is all these hashtags, hashtag steady, hashtag on my way, hashtag connect, my soul, travel, hashtag blessed, hashtag no drama. Hashtag no drama. And this one is one that I think we could all agree on. Says, after 365 days of tweeting at Chick-fil-A, asking for free food for a year, my friends at Chick-fil-A have hooked me up big time. Thanks for the free 52 sandwiches and all the gear. Much appreciated. Hashtag blessed. That's worth the hashtag blessed. I'll give you that. But so if I were to ask people, if I were to ask you how you use social media, and if you're addicted to social media, if you find your identity in social media, I would think that most of us would say no. Okay? I think that most of these people and most of us in the room would say no, right? So here's some questions that we're going to go through. If you only got 10 likes on a photo, would you be upset? So really think honestly through this stuff. If you only got 10 likes on a photo, just a personal photo, would you be upset? Man, like no one's looking. If only 3 people viewed your story, like your Instagram story, your Snapchat story, would that bother you? Would that bother you? Would it affect you? Do you pull out your phone and check social media more than one time every 10 minutes? Do you post basically the same picture of yourself on a regular basis? The goal is to think about the role that social media plays in our life. What is the role that social media plays in your life? Because oftentimes I think that we find at least part of our identity in who we portray and what we do on our social media. We find some of our identity in who we present ourselves being on social media, and we lose some of that in ourselves. So here's what I'm thinking, and I think there's an underlying mindset that even if we aren't admitting this verbally, even if we're not admitting this publicly and to ourselves, and we're not tweeting this, and we're not telling people this, I think that every social media post is a request for attention. Think about that. I know this isn't like a blanket statement, all true, but think about that for your life. If I were to tell you that every social media post that you have is a request for attention, could you give me a good reason why it isn't? Could you give me a good reason why it isn't? And here's the deal with it. We all desire influence. We all do. We all want to be important. We all want to matter. I want to be important. I want to matter. I want to have influence. And people used to have to work for that. People used to have to work for their influence, and they would have to go and study under somebody and become the apprentice and then train until eventually they became like a master of their craft, and then they had influence. Or when like Aristotle and Socrates taught, right? These are like some old guys, some old scholars that taught. Like you would go, they were the only people that had influence, and you would go and you would sit at their feet to hear. You would sit at their feet and learn, and then maybe eventually you would get some ground, you would get some more influence. But now we all have like automatic influence. We all have automatic influence. It's crazy how much influence we actually have. We have people that follow us that we can influence every day. We have people that we interact with on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, all these things every day. You guys have influence, but we always want more. We always want more influence. And we live in this weird world where anyone can post a YouTube video about whatever they want. Anyone can start a podcast. I can write this like detailed blog about something that like I don't know that much about, and I can pretend that I know so much, and I can have influence, even though like I just looked at it for like 2 days. I can pretend like I have all this influence. We can pretend like we have all this influence. But in a world where it's supposed to be easier to have influence, there is so much noise that it would be easy, and it is easy to feel like you could be a failure because you don't have the influence you think you have. And if we have influence, if you have influence, you'll feel respected, you'll feel loved, you'll feel cared about. And social media can be a place for that. There was a really fascinating study. This is a couple years ago. I'm a millennial. My generation's called millennials. I don't know what you guys are. I think you're like Gen Xers or something. But anyway, so this is a study about me and my generation, and I find it fascinating. So when growing up, or my parents, when they were growing up, they were told that if they worked really hard, if they started at this point, they worked really, really hard, they could get to here, okay? Like they could get to this point. And if they worked really hard, they could earn their spot at this point. But what happened was they worked really hard, and the economy worked out, and all this stuff, that they actually overshot their goals and landed here. And so what that told them was, man, like if we can work, we can do anything. Like if you work hard and put your nose down and you grind hard, you can do anything you want to. So that's what they told my generation. That's what parents told our generation. And they said like, you start here, you work hard, literally anything you can do. And so much so that millennials, that we developed this weird, like the world is our oyster, we can do whatever we want. Like I can be president, but I don't want to short myself. Like it's a very attainable goal for me, the president of the United States, but like I don't want to short myself. That's a very unattainable goal. That's a very hard goal to reach. But what happened with millennials was we just saw that the world, we could do anything we wanted. That's what we were told, we could do anything we wanted. And so we lived like that. We lived like that. But we didn't get there. So we worked hard, and maybe we got to here, but some of us got to here. And what that did was make us feel like failures. It was make us feel depressed. But then we went to social media, and and people are posting about their best trips, and they went to Thailand, and they went to Europe, and they did these things, and look, I'm the CEO of my company now, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing this. And we see all these other people portraying the best parts of their life. I saw all my friends portraying the best parts of their life. And what that did, for a general blanket statement for millennials, was create a sense of depression. A sense of, my life isn't as good as that person's life. I must be doing something wrong. What's wrong? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with my life? And the same, so we would post pictures, me and my wife, we loved to travel. And so early on in our marriage, we traveled all the time. And we would go to Colorado and Pennsylvania and go all these different places and travel all around. And people would look at us, and we went to Asia a couple times, and we'd be like, people look at us and they think, man, like you guys have the best life. Because what they saw of our life looked awesome. It looked awesome. But they didn't know our struggles. They didn't know our struggles in our marriage. We had 2 miscarriages that sucked. They didn't know that we fought. They didn't know that I felt like a failure in my job. They didn't know any of that stuff because that's not what I portrayed. Because what we were doing and what people do is portray the best part of their life on social media, which is natural, but it's also a little bit deceiving. So that's a study about me, but and my generation. But I think some of that can apply to some of you guys. So that's my generation, and our decision and our desire to find happiness, and we found happiness, trying to find happiness in the wrong place on social media. So after all that, here's my next question. And maybe the most important question. What will make you happy? Like if you think about your life right now, what would make you happy? That one thing, what would make you happy? We're going to talk about Solomon. Solomon is a fascinating person in the Bible. He's really interesting. He's the son of David, King David, who was called a man after God's own heart. And Solomon, when he first became king, he was approached by God and basically given like one wish. And he said he wants to be wise. And so God gave him wisdom. And because of his wisdom, he used that wisdom and he made Israel like this incredible powerhouse it was. So I'm going to take a pause here for any creative people in here. I just want to stop and appreciate. My friend Andy made King Solomon, a Twitter profile, and he gave him 1,000 followers or 1,000 tweets because he had 300 wives and 700 concubines, so 1,000. He had there's about 5 million people in Israel at the time, and he loved 300 women. But he liked 300 or 700 because he had 700 concubines. That's weird. Is that weird? But anyway, I thought that was really great. And he would like tweet his dead dad and stuff. So some things that Solomon might tweet, some things that he might tweet. It's like Queen Sheba came to check out the palace today. Hashtag blessed. Hashtag gold everything. Like he had it. He had it all. Like people were coming. The Queen of Sheba came and visited because she had heard about these wonders. She couldn't see it on Instagram, but she had heard about these crazy wonders at Israel. And King Solomon, she wanted to see the temple. She wanted to see the palace. And so she went there. And that would be something he would probably tweet. He would tweet maybe got married again. Hashtag 259. Hashtag marriage. He might tweet loving life to the fullest. And tweet this picture of himself. But in reality, Solomon started to stray from God. It's a sad story, we won't get into that story. But he started to stray from God. And in that, he desired and he chased other things. And he chased wealth and he chased happiness in other areas and he worshipped other gods and he did all sorts of things. So much so that at the end of his life, he writes the book of Ecclesiastes. And he had written some other great things before. He had written this in the book of Proverbs. It said, "He who works with a lazy hand is poor, but the hand of the hard worker brings riches." So those who are right with God are remembered with honor, but the name of the sinful will waste away. He was on the right track. He was doing the right things, and the life that he was portraying, even probably up to the end, was a life of wisdom and a life of happiness. But when he got to the end of his life, he wrote the book of Ecclesiastes, which is one of the realest, saddest books in the whole Bible. And he writes this: "Meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher. Utterly meaningless, everything is meaningless." In the verse before, he had said he was the teacher. So meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher, says Solomon. Utterly meaningless, everything is meaningless. When he looked at his life, and he looked at all he had accomplished, he looked at all the riches, he looked at all the money and the fame and the power that he had, and the life that we all generally desire and strive for and pretend to have, all this influence, he says, man, this was just meaningless. He says, "I, the teacher, the king, was over Israel and Jerusalem. I applied my mind to study, to explore by wisdom all that is done under the heavens. What a heavy burden God has laid on mankind. I have seen all things that are done under the sun. All of them are meaningless, chasing after the wind." Have you ever chased after the wind? That's the definition of meaningless. You can't ever catch the wind. You can't grab the wind. But oftentimes what we're doing is chasing after the wind. We're chasing after this dream that we think that we're supposed to have. We're chasing after what we think our life is supposed to look like. We portray the life that we want to have, but we can't get it. And when we don't get it, we feel like we might have failed. Solomon literally had everything. He had all the money, he had all the power. Other nations wanted to partner with him. Nations were coming to him all the time, wanting to partner with him. he had it all. And he says it's meaningless. This is Solomon's confession, his swan song, if you will. Where we see who he really was, not who he pretended to be, not who he wanted to be, not who he showed people he was, but the real Solomon, and he was broken. And if we're chasing happiness, it's impossible to find in Solomon's way. If we're chasing happiness, it's impossible to find in Solomon's way. And so, what does it have to do with social media? Guys, I think that people in general, no, I'm not, and this isn't like a blanket statement to you, like this is like people in general. I think because of social media, we chase happiness in a whole new way, in a way that's like okay to do. I said this before, I want you guys to have a full life, okay? I do. And I don't want you to be hindered, and I don't want you to find your identity in how many people like your photos and comment on your status and do this. Like that's not the point. That won't bring you anything. Don't find your identity in that. Your identity is not wrapped up in what people think of you. Your identity is not wrapped up in what people think of you. And that's hard, and that's like the epitome of that is social media. Because it's like an attainable goal. Like if I get 100 likes on this, then I know that people like it. If 200 people view my story, then I know like people value me. But it's not an attainable goal because it keeps climbing. Because you see other people. Like, I want to have as many likes on my photos as Mark and Dave. I do. I want to be cool like Mark and Dave. But like, if I don't get that, is that gonna like send me into depression? Is that gonna send me into a place like where I'm like, man, like what's wrong with my life? I love the song last night we sang that who you say I am, who you say I am, because that's what matters. What God says we are, that's what matters. And God says that in John 1:12, he says that you're his child. In John 15:5, Jesus calls us his friends. You've been bought with a price. You belong to God. You are redeemed. You're forgiven of all your sins. And Colossians 2:10 says that you are complete in Christ. You're complete in Christ. Like, I'm not complete if I'm like successful at my job. I'm not complete if I get this certain dollar amount. I'm not complete if I get this many followers. That doesn't complete me. None of that completes me. I thought that when I got to a certain financial status that I would be content. That isn't exactly how it worked, okay? Like, I thought that when I got to certain, I really did, be frank with you. I thought when I got to a certain number of followers on social media, or a certain number of like friends on Facebook or something, I'd be like, yeah, like I made it, I've arrived, I have influence, I'm important. That isn't how I feel. Because the bar always moves. So if we're finding identity in what people think of us, specifically in this case through social media, then we're doing it wrong. 3 points here. That was the first one. We're wrapping up here. Number 2 is your purpose is to point other people to Jesus and to be an encouragement. If you're a believer, if you follow Jesus, then this is your goal. This is your goal. And it shouldn't be to have, like, to point people to yourself. It shouldn't be to like, hey, look at me, look what I did, like, great chest workout today, great like day at the beach, like whatever, like what that stuff is. Like, if you're pointing people to yourself, you're doing it wrong. Okay? You're doing it wrong. Jesus told the disciples in Matthew 28 to go and tell the world about him. And then they told people, and they told people, and they told people, until eventually someone told you, and you decided to follow Jesus. And now it's your turn. Now it's your turn to tell people so people down the line can know. Which brings us to our last point. What kind of influence do you want to have? What kind of influence do you want to have? You have influence. All of you do. You all have influence. You all have followers, and you all have people that look to you and look at your photos and look at your posts. What kind of influence do you want to have? Do you want to use that platform to point people to you? Or do you want to use that platform to be an encouragement and point people to Jesus? One is empty, one is fleeting, one is chasing the wind, the other is meaningful. If you're trying to point people to you, you'll never be satisfied. You'll never be satisfied. What kind of influence do you want to have? I have a friend, I know a guy who specifically takes time every day, he's on social media, like 15 minutes a day, and he goes through Facebook and he goes through Instagram and looks for posts of people that are upset, that are disappointed, that are discouraged. And he'll stop and he'll pray for them, and in some cases he'll message them or try to follow up with them. He uses social media as a platform to be like an encouragement and to chase after people, instead of using it as a place to like mindlessly browse or use it as a place to promote himself. He uses it as a place to encourage people. That's awesome. That's a great use of social media. I have a real life example here. This is my friend Nick and Ryan. Nick runs a sewage and drain company, right? And so all day he goes and he cleans out crap from drains. And he and his coworker Ryan, they started doing these Facebook videos. So check this out.
Hey, my name's Nick.
I'm Ryan.
And we've been thinking lately how sin in our life is a lot like turds in our job. We used to drain cleaning, and
Come on, that's fun. You can laugh.
turds are stinky, messy, and nobody likes to deal with them or talk about it. But we all make turds.
That's correct. And you know what? Improper solutions or cleansing will build up, and it will stock up, and could often be painful if not dealt with in the correct way. So, you gotta turn to Jesus.
That's right. Jesus is your drain cleaner. Jesus is gonna make your turds go away.
That's right. He's gonna cleanse you.
You gotta take all the stink and all the filth and all the buildup and jet it out of your life and clean you out and make you all fresh and smell good again.
And the good thing about that is, it's gone for good.
That's
It
right.
doesn't come back after that. But we gotta take the initiative. We gotta turn to that book, the Bible, and we gotta pray and ask Him.
In James it says, confess, pray, and be healed.
Mm.
That's your spiritual drain cleaner.
Yes.
And Ryan and I right now will show you we are working in a church. If you can see here, even sometimes churches are built up of turds and they need some cleaning.
Just a little assistance.
So call on Jesus and He'll clean you out.
Amen.
So they're a bunch of goobers, right? Like, that's weird. But at the same time, they're using their platform, they're using their Facebook to be an encouragement to people and try to point people to Jesus. I'm not saying you need to do that, and you need to do videos on a daily basis about like what Jesus is teaching you in your life. But what I really want you to think about is, what is your purpose? What is your goal for social media? Why do you have social media? And if you're really honest with yourself, why do you have social media? And what kind of influence do you want to have? So that's that. I want you guys to live a full life. And I see too many people, adults included, maybe specifically adults, that find identity in social media. And I don't want that for you. So use social media to have influence for good. So God, I pray for this group. God, help us to be people that find our identity in you. Help us to be people that want to be an encouragement to people. God, I pray that you'll convict us when we try to point people to ourselves. Strip us of that pride. In your name I pray.